Welcome to another episode of Tax Leaders Unplugged. Our guest today is Mathias Hildebrandt. And Mathias is the head of tax at Enpal. Before, he held multiple tax leadership roles at, among others, Zalando, Bauer Media, ProSieben, Satellite One. It's hard for me to pronounce. I try. That's TV broadcasting, and then British American Tobacco. Mathias started his career in advisory, and he also worked at the German tax authorities. And next to his very busy in-house life, he has his own tax podcast, and is also a co-publisher of a German tax technology journal and a German journal for international tax. In this episode today, we will discuss the multiple career moves that Mathias made so far. And we will also discuss the value of the different side hustles that he has next to being a head of tax.
This podcast is brought to you by LogTax.
LogTax is an autonomous control center for your global tax operations. It streamlines tax compliance with AI-driven insights and workflow automation. It helps to stay in control of tax risk and controversy management, and this system of action empowers tax teams with real-time analytics and regulatory updates, ensuring proactive business support. LogTax, on top of that, helps in-house teams to keep up with the digitalization that is happening at the site of the tax authorities. Transform your tax function with LogTax and ensure it is future-proof and AI-ready. Mathias, it's an honor to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you. It's also an honor to be with you, Stevie.
Great. Always nice to have fellow podcast hosts on the podcast of LogTax. So let's maybe discuss that topic first a bit. Like, you have your own podcast series. How did you get started with this initiative? What inspired you and what drives you to continue doing it?
Yes. So actually it's 5 years ago. So I was already a co-publisher for this German journal for international tax law. The publishing house, it's called NWB. They have a lot of different journals. They came to me and asked if I'm interested in a podcast, to be a podcast host together with others. And so the first step then was to find the right co-hosts, and then in the end to create a kind of structure what will be a part of each episode. And we expected, honestly, that we will have, I don't know, maybe 100 to 200 listeners, because, international tax law is a very small area of interest. I expected. And then we started, and what we try to do, and this is the same with you in this podcast here, not just to talk about tax itself, but also about the people behind, the career and other interests and so on. That the listener can also get a bit feeling about the guest and the career steps and so on. And in the end, we will in the next weeks we will publish our 50th episode, and we have listeners of about 3,000 to 4,000 per episode, which is very huge and amazing. So we never thought this will happen, and that we will also, keep this podcast for such a long time. And so it's what I want to also add is I do this not just by myself, but with the team, with the co-hosts, with Nadja Altenburg. She's also very in international tax. So also Eva Oertel, she works for the Ministry of Finance in Bavaria, as responsible for international tax law. And Florian Holle, he was with PwC, is now also in a smaller tax firm, and all of them are interested in international tax law. And so with all these people, we have a huge network of potential guests.
Well, it's interesting. And congrats, because indeed 50 episodes, that's quite an achievement. Yes. And then also the audience, really impressive. So congrats on that. What is your typical profile of guests? Is that in-house, advisory, both?
It's both and more. So we have also judges from tax courts. We have also professors, and yes, of course, advisors and in-house guys. that we in the end have a broad view and from every different perspective of tax law. And we have also sometimes some international guests to, of course, follow up a bit the developments in the US, for example, or on Pillar 2 and so. So it's a very big variance of guests.
Nice. And so, for the sake of clarity, can the non-German speaking part of this audience, can they listen to your podcast, or is it majority in German language?
Yeah, so it's usually in German. We had just, I think, 2 episodes in English with on Pillar 2. This was interesting with, I think, 5 guests from 5 different countries, how they see Pillar 2 from their perspective, which was interesting. And another one was about the tax policy in the US within US advisor. But usually it's in German because our audience is also a bit that we don't, go in so big of the details, that also someone who is just starting with taxes or wants to listening a bit about international tax, that he can also follow or she can follow, means that we try to keep the topics on a level which is also understandable for someone who is quite new in this field.
Yeah, interesting. And so that now that you have done 50 episodes, can you maybe share some of the learnings, like the most remarkable conversations and learnings that you have had so far?
Actually, I learn in every of these podcasts. So we do some preparations, but in the end, in each podcast, I have some learnings. Sometimes on the technical part, how international tax law is working, but also how, for example, the tax policies, especially internationally, is working. That you have the OECD on the one hand, and United Nations and the EU, and so. And how this goes together, and what are in the end the results out of this? Because it's of course a big discussion, and then they need to find a solution with many of the countries. And this was one learning, that of course the law is complex, the life is complex, digitalization and so on. And then on top you have a lot of players. They need to. Or this was the aim, to find a common solution. And then, like in the EU, you see that there are some compromises which are from a pure standpoint on this field. You would say, no, this is maybe not the right solution, but in the end, it's a compromise of big players. This was one big learning. The other is for me that every guest is, of course, as a person, has other interests, and they are not just a tax judge on the highest court, or just a tax officer. No, of course, they are also people, and they are nice, and they have other interests. And you can, in the end, this is what we also want to show with this podcast. To each of these person, you can go on a conference or so and can talk with them. That there's no border between us, so that it's we want to show that the people, of course, are also interested in other people, and they like to discuss certain things.
Yeah, 100%. And I like that a lot. Also, if I myself listen to other podcasts and then in the tax domain, you want to learn about the person other than just technicalities. You want to know who is talking and what type of interest they have and characteristics. So 100% agree with that. Thanks for explaining that. You also have or you're responsible for a tax technology magazine. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, actually, that's what the idea of Christian Käser. He's the head of tax at Siemens since years, and this idea came also up, I think, also 5 years ago. About that he wants to, as this was the first development, that tax technology came up as an own topic, beside tax law and tax operations and so on, that there is place of interest for a new journal. And so as I had already some experiences, and I also had some talks on a conference about text technology. He came to me and asked me if the two of us, wants to start a text technology journal, and I said, of course, yes. It's very interesting. It's an honor to do this, and this was also a bit starting from scratch, together with the publishing house, which also is publishing a lot of the text journals in Germany, to discuss how we want to, in the end, how this journal should look like, what should be the content, and what is not the content was also important. That we are concentrated on tax, not on legal. As 5 years ago, it was not clear in which directions the different things will go. And then we started, and now we have each year 6 issues, and we are also in year 5 now, which is also unbelievable.
Yeah, wow, that's indeed yet another nice achievement. So this is a magazine where you wanna just make sure that you inform the audience about all evolutions which there are technically, tools that are available, new technologies that are relevant for the tax domain. Is that correct?
Exactly. This is one part. The other is how the law is changing because of in the end, not because of tax technology, but how the law is changing because of new developments like token, digitalization, digital business models, and so on.
Yeah.
And how now also not just the law is changing, but also how different tax courts change in their judgments. And the third part is, in the end, how the people work with technology, and how you make transformation, and how you bring digitalization not only to big companies, but
Yeah.
also to tax advisors, to big tax advisory firms, but also to the small ones. And how in the end you work on make your life easier with technology in the field of tax advisors.
Yeah, I like that a lot, because I think technology is one component of the bigger transformation of the tax function, right? And the technology component cannot be seen isolated from, let's say, the people, the tax people, because tax is and will a people game, and that's not going to change in the near future, I think. And secondly, then how all of those stakeholders collaborate, right?
Yes.
For which then typically you need some sort of processes, you need some modus operandi, because without all of that, you can dream of tools and technology, but again, in isolation, the magic won't happen. Still, I mean, a lot is changing rapidly, but I'm very confident that it all starts still with the people. So interesting. What are some of the technological shifts you have seen throughout the years that you were responsible for the magazine? I mean, there are the obvious ones, AI, but maybe like in general, looking more holistically, what are some of the interesting learnings that you have had?
I think that's the start was that the tax departments, but also the tax advisors, that they looked the first time deeper in processes, so that it changed from applying tax law for a certain I don't know, business model or so, but to look into processes. So I think accounting was a bit earlier, started a bit earlier, and of course also IT. And my big aha moment was, as I discussed with IT about I don't know, something we want to have in our ERP system or so, and they didn't really understand what I wanted to tell them. And then in the end, we drifted to BPMN, this process tool where you can show processes. And then we in the end did our process, or put our process into this tool, and then IT understood from the from the first moment on And then I realized, okay, looking into processes, what we are really do at the moment and how and who's responsible, and to bring this in a certain language like BPMN helps also on the one hand us to understand our process, but also IT to understand what we want to do at the moment, what we want to have in future. So it means for me that the first step was looking into processes and to make processes visible, and then to enhance processes. And then a second part was to think about how we can digitalize processes. And then this topic came in automation. It's also some tools and some suppliers that you could automate some of your processes, which are always repeating. And in the end, of course, starting with an Excel and some Excel flows, but then also to use like UiPath on others, really supplies for automation. I think then came up the discussion about data and the quality of data, and how you can collect as a text function your relevant data for you. Because in the end, before it was you had this ERP system, and this was for the business in a one step, and the second step for accounting, but it was not really created so far for the text function. So it means you had to collect data from different sources, and then I think there was a concentration on how we can collect effectively data in a very good quality to use it further on in the text department.
Yeah.
And I think the fourth step then is once we have a good process which is automated and we have all the data, to use AI to in the end to get new information, or to put in controls and so on, to use AI if you have your high quality data. But I think this was the evolution of topics. I'm not sure if all of these 4 steps are already done in all companies. So it means everyone is talking about AI, but I think we are still struggling in general with the data quality in a lot of companies, which I see.
Yeah, or maybe even a couple of steps back, like the processes where it all started with, to what you were saying, because again, also there, if your process is broken and you try to automate on the back of that, then you will basically end up with a lot of wasted time and money.
Yeah.
What is your view in general? I mean, because you have a very big network and definitely in the German market, what is the overall adoption, and maybe other question, the maturity of the operations of most multinationals? How have you seen that evolving? Because you correctly said, like, okay, I'm not sure that all companies are there yet, but in general, can you say a thing or two about like what your observations are and how you see companies making progress? Is it happening at the pace you expected it to be? Are they a bit delayed in general, or what is your view there?
I think one big push for a lot of tax departments was SAP S4, the change and the big project to change to S4, because this was a chance for a lot of tax departments to be part, and to not just to be part, but also to implement in the end data quality and data collection just for the tax department, which was the foundation for the next things. And this I see this was also the first time that all tech or a lot of tax departments have seen this chance. Okay, there's a big project, there's a budget, and we need to be part of it, and we can also put in our wishes, and this helps a lot, I think. And I think this was. And there was also, of course, depending on the project, but a high progress. I think AI, on top on this, there was in the beginning much more expectation that AI will help us for everything. And then I think there was a bit the realistic view. No, it's not. I don't know the thing what's coming now, and 100% of our tasks are gone and will be automated. No, I think now we are in a phase that a lot of use cases coming up, which is very good, and that a lot of companies think about their specific use cases, how AI can help them in their certain processes to help. And I think this is much depending, and this can be also a very, very small piece in the entire tax department, but helps also. That means there's not a big bang with AI from my perspective, but there are certain smaller steps how to implement AI to support the tax processes. Means I think we are in the middle of this phase where with use cases, a lot of people now understand how AI can help, and that this I realize also a lot of companies now start with their own AI to implement use cases.
Yeah, 100%. And what are the most common use cases that you have seen or heard in your podcast or in the magazine, like thinking about AI in the tax domain?
Yeah, I think the most is related to language models that you know have summarizes or a summary of I don't know published rulings, or you have a summarization of a meeting or so, which is not related to text actually. Which is also, helping other companies, the departments like legal or others, or I don't know, for example, to create a memo about a certain project and what are the results from a tax department or so, which is a lot in the end, looking on language models. And I think the next step is, and this I think it's just in the beginning, these deep AI that the tool is learning, for example, how the VT is to apply for certain transactions in a company. And I think the expectation was this comes very fast. And I think now this is developing, but I think this needs also a bit time that in the end the results have a quality that you can use this instead. For example, a tax manager is looking in a transaction and is applying the law, but instead the DI is applying the law. I think there are developments, but we are not in this phase. Would I say that you can say you have a plug and play tool so far?
And what is your overall view on the tax team being allowed to test out AI tools? Because I hear regularly that there is not a policy in place. They want to do it, but they cannot do it.
Yes.
So they use their private accounts. And
yes, exactly.
You hear the same?
I realize that this is a big topic actually for our companies. I think in some years ago you had this also. I think it's called hidden software. That you in the past you used, and the company didn't know, some smaller software to calculate something here, or to translate something or so, which is outside of your IT landscape in your company, but you know that the people do this. And I think this is now also given with AI, that you have a lot of AI tools where the employees use these AI tools for support and so on. But this is not the official policy of the company. And I think what is very important is that you have clear rules. On the one hand, that the company gives the employees an AI tool which they can use, which is in the end, which has the security, the data security, and all these things in, and that they can try out this tool to avoid that the people go outside of the secure level and just try out something with very with all the data of the company. And so I see that you need a clear policy, but this is not enough to say it's not allowed to use these external AI. You need to give the people an internal AI tool or more. And I think the third part is to train the people or to give them the chance to be part of an AI training. And these three things, of course, I have not seen everything, but I would say just 50% or less apply these three things for the employees, which is a risk.
Yeah, and
obviously.
it's an observation. It's a risk, and yeah, also to your point, like you need to give to the team the opportunity to play with AI because the world is changing at the speed of light. But I think also the tax authorities, they are already applying AI. So
Yes.
if you don't do it as an in-house tax function, then you will be lagging behind. You have a competitive disadvantage.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
No, interesting. Cool. So, Matthias, if we go a bit to your career path so far, I've seen that I looked a bit at your LinkedIn profile. I've seen all the impressive career moves you've had, but I should say you've had quite some role switches, some changes in your career. I think you are at your fifth in-house role. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
And I think also you look fairly young. Explain us a bit, like what drives you to do the job hopping and does it pay off? Give us a bit like your experiences,
Yeah.
pros, cons. I'm curious.
Yeah, actually, so I'm not so young. I think I have now 17 years or so in in-house experience. But yeah, there are some steps in, and I think of course, I'm sometimes also think about, okay, why I changed so much, and I think the main part is curiosity. That I am interested to see how organizations, not just companies, but how organizations are working and how and why, what is behind business models, people, and so on. To see this, and the other thing is to be part and to give input in changes. Means that it would be boring for me to work in a company where there's no change, where I have to do, I don't know, every year the same thing, or the quarterly reporting or something like this. I think then I get bored very, very fast. And so I think so for each of my change were several reasons behind, but the main part was always that the next step looked very interesting because of the status of the company, because of the status of the team, of the tax team, or of the business models which are going in or which are going on in these companies. And so this was always the trigger when I decided, okay, I do the next step, that it looks interesting for me.
Yeah. And how does it happen? How do you are you made aware of the next step by recruiters, or are you then keeping an eye? Are you just in your networking constantly being informed about those
Yes.
opportunities? Because
Yes.
you get that, like the next steps, if that is interesting, then the current situation, yes, it's a clear go, but how are you made aware of the next step and the opportunity there is?
Yes. It was always the network. So never a headhunter or so, or a personal consult company or so. And often so that someone from my network came to me and said, okay, I heard from an opportunity. It's not for me, but maybe for you. So in this way, in that and yet I was never looking, actively for a next step or so. It was much more because of my network and my interests and so on, that someone came to me and said, okay, I heard there is something new, or there's a position open, and I this person told me, okay, this could be something for you. So then
That's interesting.
sometimes it was like, in the first view, more, no, that's not for me. And sometimes I also say in the beginning, no, it's not for me. But with all these steps I did, it was with the talks I had, I understood, okay, this can become a very, very interesting task. It's a bit like thinking in tasks, and that the tasks are interesting, like developing a text team to in the end to support a big change of the business model, to grow a company, and so always something where I could be part of building something new.
Yeah, it's interesting. I in particular like the fact that you really leverage the power of your network, and that the network comes to you with the opportunity. So what would you say are very good network initiatives or activities that people in the audience can undertake to build their network or make their network stronger? Because you are obviously very connected.
Mhm.
But when you started back in the days, how did you start building such a network,
Yes.
which now brings you all that value?
In the end, it started during my time in Hamburg with British American Tobacco, that I, a lot of years ago, there were a lot of events from advisory companies, or sometimes also from the university, and so. And it was always a discussion, or the tendencies were from where advisors, tax officers, of course, in-house people, and so on. And I thought, we have so many different questions in-house which are not related to apply tax law, but in the end, how organize your team, how apply, I don't know, a law, or how to use software and so on, which are not related to a question which I can discuss with an advisor, where I can much more learn when I discuss this with my peers, in-house peers. And so the idea came up, okay, let's start with an in-house circle. And so I, with a friend of mine, we started in a pure in-house discussion circle in Hamburg a lot of years ago. And this was before Corona. It was a face-to-face meeting 3 or 4 times a year. And with this was in the end the starting point for my network. And then as I moved to Berlin, I also did this in Berlin and in Munich. And with Corona, we changed this to calls. And now it's on a monthly basis that we have. I'm not the only one, so there are also others. They organizing calls. So I'm now or I have invites for 5 different calls. One is for transfer pricing, one is for tax technology, one is for head of taxes, VAT, withholding tax, where you always learn something if you attend. Of course, you see the people, and there's, as these are just in-house people, there's a kind of or level of trust, because we are very open in now that we also say, okay, this topic went very bad in our case, and how we can develop, for example, or can be better. And you learn a lot or you get a benchmark how other tax departments in the end will work with this specific topic. If, for example, law is changing, or I don't know, digitalization, or developing a team, that you have, or that I have now a benchmark. I can I have a feeling how the big companies working on this, how smaller tax teams working on certain topics, and all of them, of course, have the topic how to handle all your things what you need to do with a very small budget. And that's good to see, that that everyone in the end is struggling with the same issues. And this helps a lot.
And
And the second part is
I go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, the second part for me is if I attend tax events, to go to people and to try to get to know new persons, at least two or three of each of the events. Just to go to a table in a break and asking, okay, where are you from? What are you doing? And to go out of each of these events with new contacts.
That's a good one. So, and it's an easy one to apply, I guess, for everybody in the audience. Like just whenever you are somewhere, put yourself a goal, make it a bit like a competition. Every time you go home, you need to have 2 or 3 contact details or business cards in your pocket. Yeah, that's cool. About
and maybe
the first part of what
to add on this, in the end, if you ask someone what he is doing, everyone is, I think, is happy to tell others what they are doing, because of course, to tell about the job and what they are doing. And so everyone, I think, there's no one who's saying, no, I don't tell you, it's a secret or so. So I think it's a very good starting point to ask, okay, where are you from, and what's your job? What are you doing?
Yeah, very good opening question. Super cool and super hands-on. And I think about your first parts of the different, let's say, informal networks, in-house tax groupings that you have or where you are part of. Yeah, I guess this is exactly what you want to have, because to what you're saying, like the value you get from talking to peers is so important. Like there are no taboos. You can raise whatever you want, and it's all like confidential, obviously,
Yes.
right? So you don't need to be concerned that this will leak or that it will result in like advisors spamming you or chasing you or whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So when I was looking at your background, I saw that you worked at Zalando, and Zalando is obviously very well known, also far outside of Germany, a very fast-growing company. But I think when you joined, the tax team was still pretty small.
Mhm.
Explain us a bit like the journey that you went
Yes.
through, how this has shaped you as a tax professional.
Yeah. In the end, so that was my first step in a career to be a leader and to lead people. And as I joined, we were just 6 people in the tax department. And during the 4 years I joined, we grew to 17. And in the end, it was very good to in the end, to try out some leadership things with just 5 tax managers, and then to grow. And of course, it was not. I had no how to say no plan how to to grow and how to become a leader. And so it was also a lot of try and error and to fix it and so on. And the good thing, of course, was that Zalando was a new company, and means there was also a lot change of departments, of growing, of changing processes and so on. Means we could try a lot, which is, if you have, Bauer is a company which is 140 years old. Of course, there you have in more stable departments and so on, and so it was more freedom to try out at Zalando, and then we grow constantly with the business, but not really with the business, more with the complexity for taxes. And this was in the end a good experiences for me that I could also see how my team was reacting on my ideas and how they also grow. That we in the end, as I left, we had 3 sub teams with the leader, and I had 3. I led 3 leaders, and so this was a very good experience for me to trying out on one hand, and also to see how this team can growing, and how especially the communication between 6 people and 17 is changing. How the information flow is changing. With 6 people, you can, I would say, if you have a call or a meeting once a week, I think you can overview what are the topics and what all the people are doing. With 17, it's impossible. With 70 people, you have so many different information flows. You need a structure. You need to think about how to structure your task and your information flow and so on, and to bring in also kind of standardization. And this I did together with my team, and also to develop this with my team. And this was good because we all had the same topic, and we didn't come in a tax department where the structures were given. It was that we tried out a lot, and then we found our way to structure a company, not a company, to structure a tax department. And actually now I'm doing the same.
Are there any? I was about to raise a question. Like, are there any learnings that you still apply in your current role, which come from the Zalando era?
Yes. Yeah, it's similar in a way that now we at Enpal we are just 4 people, and I think the difference now or the learning is that I know how this will be if we grow as a team, but also how we make processes, or we start now processes to introduce processes which can also grow. And for example, standardization on the one hand, in our team, but also for the company itself, data flow and so on, and also how we, for example, collect data and so on. So it means what I want to say is, with the experiences of this fast-growing time at Zalando, I know, or I have a gut feeling now how or what can come with Enpal as well, as this is also a fast-growing company, and this helps me a lot. Means that I have experiences, and I think also faster in my decisions, and I also know how to discuss the topics with my team, which topics are important, and this is more related to organizational topics, not to tax law topics.
And so the point you made around the communication lines and the complexity that organically grows if the group of people that communicate with each other is also growing. What are the learnings there? What are ways to ensure that communication still properly flows through to the different stakeholders? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I think you need to start with a clear standardization, means clear rules, which everyone is applying in the team. So, for example, where and how you store data, which people needs to be involved in a certain. So, if you grow, and you have more people, that of course not everyone can follow each communication, and you need a kind of structure where you have, for example, I don't know, 2 or 3 tax people in a communication, but the other knows how they find this communication. So it means that you have a good a kind of archiving system, or where you can find the different information, and that you have a standardization, that there is a common knowledge how collect and store information, and how the other people can look in and can use this information. As not everyone, of course, can be part of each of the information flow. And this is, I think, this clear clear rules and to apply these clear rules is very important.
Yeah, and I guess definitely in the tax domain with audit trails and the importance thereof being very, very high, this is a very good piece of advice. Thanks a lot for that, Matthias. Maybe final question, which I raise to all of the guests on the podcast, like for the audience in general, the ones that want to maybe one day be in your shoes and become a tax leader. What is one piece of advice that you would give to those people in the audience?
I think, of course, we need to follow the law, and we need to be business partner and so on. I think for this part, how to lead the people and how to form your own tax department, there's a lot gut feeling in. And also this was my, on my decisions, which is my next step and so on. I think with the years, everyone has experiences, and I think in a lot of decisions and decisions, the gut feeling, the first thought is not always, but it's often the right one. And follow your feeling, and to react with your team. Means for me, that doesn't depend if it's on applying the law or is it about, I don't know, an organizational thing. I have a gut feeling. I share this with my team, get feedback, and with this feedback, I realize, okay, is my gut feeling in the right direction or not? And so this is a bit. Of course, it's a bit, oh my God, we have the tax law and we need, to be compliant and so on. Yes, we are, but the first thought is always, or in the most time, the right one, because yes, we always follow the law, and so this gives, I think, a good direction, not to struggle with your own thoughts.
Yeah, and I hear you, and I guess it's a matter of daring to be confident and to trust your gut feeling. Because if I also look at myself, I sometimes struggle with that. It's a kind of a fear where, to your point, oh my God, we are tax people and the regulations, and it's also strict and technical, and what if it goes wrong? But to what you're saying, probably over the years, you also have a fair chunk of experience.
Yes.
Where you should be daring to rely on that, and that's then, translating in a gut feeling that hopefully gives you a bit of direction and guidance. I like that. Cool. With this, Matthias, I want to thank you for the very thoughtful, insightful conversation. I really enjoyed it, and I am now more than ever aware of the fact that you are a very connected and inspiring person in the German tax scene and beyond that, obviously, as well. I will keep an eye on the podcast of yours and the magazine you're having. So thanks for sharing all of that. And thanks in general for being here on our podcast. You are a great guest.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.